There's a few clubs in the Premier League that will need a new captain this season. Man City, of course, Gundogan's off. Chelsea, Azpilicueta's gone. West Ham, Declan, obviously. Man United, maybe, potentially. Harry Maguire, and so on. Before we talk about the clubs now and what you think the modern day captain's all about, what did you were captain at club and country. What were your duties? What was the brief of a captain back when you were playing?
Well, I think it has changed to what we see today. I think that the role was a different one. I think there were many times, and I have teammates that would vouch for it, when I wasn't playing very well at all, and yet I still played.
Because you were the captain?
Yeah, right. Now, and actually, there were times when, I embarrassed the wrong word, but there were times when I felt awkward about the fact that I weren't playing very well, wasn't playing well. And almost feel like you're kind of letting the side down a little bit because your own form, your own game has gone, and yet you're leading a team out. You're walking out first, and as if you're playing out your skin every week. So let's establish that straight away, whether you're a captain or not. It shouldn't exclude you from being left out. It shouldn't exclude you from maybe being dropped. It doesn't often work that way. I mean, Harry Maguire has found himself in a difficult scenario as a United player, hasn't he? And becoming the United skipper, and then finding his form going, and then lots of speculation, lots of criticism, lots of spotlight on him, and eventually he's no longer in the team, but he's still the captain.
Currently, yeah, but when he's not been playing, I think Bruno's had it a few times. De Gea's had it a few times.
You know, so it's one of those really. The job, I think, has become a little more different now. Of course, nowadays I didn't have social media. I don't do it anyway, but I certainly didn't even have it to worry about then. I didn't have quite so much responsibility on a daily basis to perhaps the fans. My role as I felt my job as a captain was to be out there every week as much as I could.
So do you think the captain now needs to play every week? Or could you have maybe a pool of 2 or 3?
Well, you could. I think you could. And I do think that if you're a coach nowadays and your captain isn't playing well, your squads are so big. You've got 8 or 9 others chomping at the bit waiting for a game every week. Can't get a game. Why would you not change those personnel? Why would you not change them around? So, and you know, look, part of the job of being a skipper isn't playing 9 out of 10 every week, because you can't. But it's about being out there. It's about being a presence, if you like, out there on the field. I never, when I was playing for Ireland, I never went out there and was screaming at some of the brilliant players that I played with, and I played with some fantastic players. That wasn't what I felt my job was. My priority every time I took to a field was my own game. Make sure my own game is half decent.
But you had
today.
Responsibilities on the pitch as a captain or not?
Yes, you do. I think you do. I think people look to you, and I think that by you merely being there on a very regular basis, I think there's some stability the team get from that. I do agree with that. But I don't think the skipper should be an absolute nailed on every week. I really don't. Not now, in particular.
Do you think that the captain needs to play a certain position? And by that I mean, you've got Spurs, you've got Hugo Lloris, right? Mm-hmm.
That's always a bit of a strange one for me.
Okay.
Always.
Is it? Okay, there's my... Can you have like a wing back or a full back as a captain? Do you think it should go there? Because predominantly back in your day, without sounding too rude, it was a midfielder or centre half, wasn't it, usually?
Correct, yeah. Usually it was. I mean, if you think of Brian Robson, who was the England captain back in my time, you know, Robbo was the absolute...
he was Captain Marvel,
He
right?
was, you know, and he was everything you were looking for in a captain at that point. And throwing himself into every challenge, contesting every ball, trying to get in the box, defending 1 minute, up and down the field for 90 minutes and still going hammer and tongs at the end. That's what he was. And that's why everyone always tried to patch him up because he obviously got injuries the way he played. They always wanted him out there. So I do think as a skipper, you have a responsibility to get out there as much as you can. There's no point in being a captain of a club if you don't play, or if you're sitting there watching half the time because you're injured. That's no good to anybody. You can't be a skipper if you're unlucky with injuries. Sure. I don't agree with that.
What about if you're a superstar? So for argument's sake, when Ronaldo came to Manchester United, there were question marks whether or not he should be. When he was at Real Madrid, I think it was Sergio Ramos was the captain. So
too wrapped up in his own game, I think, Cristiano. Brilliant as he is.
Right.
Got tons of respect for the type of player he was. But in the end, in his latter days, it was just about a goal for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, but do you think a superstar at a club should be the captain or not?
Not 100%, Anne. No, not every time. I mean, Messi. Look, did I expect anyone else to be the skipper at the World Cup apart from him? No. Did you?
No.
You know, I did. Who else was going to be the captain in
But
front
is he
of
a
him?
great leader? I mean, I don't know what he's like as a teammate.
By example, just by what he does.
Okay, by example, yeah.
Just by merely being arguably the greatest football we've ever seen. Just by being out there, he becomes a very important captain and a very important role for him. But it's just to lead and do what he does. There are many different facets to being a skipper, but I do think that it's an interesting one nowadays. Should they play every week because they're given the armband? I think that's a tricky one nowadays because there are so many powerful squads. You've got 20 plus players. You've got a lot of people sitting around not always getting a game. And if you're not doing it, then I think you should come out. But it's difficult. Captains often, seemingly, keep getting the nod, game in, game out.
Okay. We'll talk about that. 03717 223344. Does your captain need to start every week? Just quickly, who's the best captain you ever played under?
The best captain I ever played under, Mick McCarthy was a good captain to play under because Mick, you know, Mick by his own admission, not the greatest footballer, but gave absolutely everything he ever had. Mick was a good skipper to play under, someone again that got himself out there as much as possible and gave, as I said, gave absolutely everything in every game you ever played in. I'm trying to think back in my early days.
How old were you when you became captain? You were quite young.
Quite young, sort of youngish, yeah. Youngish.
How old were you?
I'd started the game late, so by the time I got to Chelsea, I'd become pretty much a skipper straight away. And then Kevin Richardson was skipper in my first year at Villa, and then Rico went, and then I then became the captain at Villa. So I've sort of done it quite a lot over the years. But no, I think that I don't think I necessarily ever tried to emulate any of the guys that I played under. And I think you just do your own thing. The most important thing for a skipper, I feel, is to make sure you are out there or you're available week in, week out. You can't guarantee I'm playing well. Yeah. You just can't. I'm afraid.
Do you ever keep your armbands?
No.
You keep them?
No, I
Cup
didn't
finals?
keep any of them. Well, because in fact, didn't even used to have armbands half the time. It was a bit of tape, just like a little bit of tape.
Oh, was it?
Wrap it around your
wrap it around your what?
Wrap it around your arm.
Oh.
But
that's where you go.
But no. So it's interesting nowadays. People are always looking for something extra, something more from a skipper. Thiago Silva must be. Surely he's going to be the skipper at Chelsea, isn't he?
If he stays, he's been linked to moves away today. I mean, it's ridiculous. But
right. Well, if he stays, I would have thought he's like the obvious one. Although there has been some rumours that even someone like Reece James might even want to become or should become Pochettino's next skipper.
Okay, so the question we're going to ask, is does your club captain or your captain need to start every week? What are you saying, yes or no?
I'm saying in this day and age, I don't think so. I don't think he has to start every week. I think you'd like him to and you'd want them to, of course, but it's not imperative, I don't think, with the size of Premier League squads now that they do.
Tim's a Man United fan. Hi, Tim.
Yeah, hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm very well. How are you today?
Yeah, good, actually. Great show. I love this topic.
Well, thanks,
I've got
Steve.
2 points I want to get across.
Well, you can have both of them.
All right, that's very generous of you. The first one is just like what makes a good captain and whether a captain should start every week. I agree with Andy to a certain extent that they don't need to start every week, but I think if fit and they don't need rotation and they're good enough, they should be starting. Mm-hmm. Now, a second point, you do get players like Gary Neville or Jamie Carragher or Azpilicueta who achieve great things in the game, and they may not be the peak players they were, but they have or they represent what's best about a player at a club and what the standards should be and what you should be trying to achieve and what you should attain to, and they have that experience, so they can get away with being a player who still adds value and leadership to a club and should be a captain. Mm-hmm. And then you get a club like Man United, which leads me to my second point, who have a player who is adored by the media because he's English and is asked about in most of the press conferences before games and after games about why he's not playing, who is probably our fifth choice centre-back, isn't good enough, who is our captain and shouldn't be, because if you're not good enough and you're not first choice and you're never going to be, then no, you shouldn't be the captain and we should get a new one. And a captain should be aspirational. They should make the players want to play better, be it because individually they're brilliant. Or they give everything to the cause, like a Brian Robson. Or they can be a Harry Kane who just lead by example by scoring goals every week. It can be a Messi who just has that brilliance and awe that makes you want to play a better player. But Harry Maguire doesn't do any of that for anyone.
Okay.
So,
Tim, what a great call. Thank you for that. I appreciate your time.
When Stevie Gerrard went to Villa, did he take the captaincy off Tyrone?
Yes.
He did, didn't he? He took it off him now, and I think he was unlucky because he had the... is it not Diego Costa? It's
the injury to the centre-half,
Yeah, the injury to the centre-half, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
And of course, that then put him on the back foot probably a little bit with Tyrone Mings. You don't want to taking that armband away from somebody that is a skipper is a big call to make. It's a big call to make because you undoubtedly are going to lose.
Was it Douglas?
Douglas Costa. No, well, I think it was.
Who's the Villa fellow who done his cruciating?
Literally had been there 5 minutes.
Diego Carlos.
Sorry. Thank you. Apologies, Diego. But so he just come in and I think, Tyrone obviously had the captaincy taken off him. That was a big call from Stephen, and he was unlucky in the respect that he lost a player, and then that Tyrone eventually goes back in, and that might have been a little bit tricky and a little bit awkward. But it's a call you have to make, which is sort of coming round to the point there. What Tim just mentioned about Harry Maguire, that he's a skipper, and yet he says he's number 5 at Man United. Would he be number 5, Harry Maguire?
Yeah.
Is that what he would be?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you've got Luke Shaw in there now, who also plays centre-half. Adam's an Arsenal fan. Hi, Adam. Oh, Darren?
Hello.
Hi, Darren. How are you?
Darren.
I'm all right, thanks. Great show, guys. Honestly, favourite show on talkSPORT now is Drive. I love it.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Well, you're our favourite caller then. How about that, Darren?
Yeah, well, I can't blame you for saying so. Listen, I just wanted... Inside as well, please. Yeah, inside on. Yeah, sorry.
Who was that? Darren, who are you talking to? What was that?
Sorry, I'm just having my car cleaned.
Inside and out. How much they charge for that?
Inside and out, yeah.
You just have to get that custard pie you just throw over that lad there, Darren. Yeah, just make sure he wipes that off.
Yeah. So listen, I'm a Newcastle fan, and we've got Jamal Lascelles as our captain. I think he was one of our youngest ever captains when we went down to the Championship season.
Yeah,
great captain at the time, but he's still the club captain now, and he's hardly played this season. And I just don't see the point of having a captain when they're not playing. How can you ball other players out? How can you say you should be doing this, you should be doing that when you're not good enough to be playing on the pitch? And it's similar to Harry Maguire, I guess. And for me, it's just ridiculous. Everybody at Newcastle knows that Trippier is a real captain.
It's a good point, actually. It's a very good point because Jamal Lascelles was at one point a regular fixture every week, and then all of a sudden, since Eddie's come in particular, things have moved on, the team's moved on, and he's found himself out of the way, and yet still the captain. I think you'll find maybe from now onwards, I think that might change, Darren. I don't know for sure, but I think it might, and I think it should. I don't see anybody should be a captain at a club if they aren't playing, if they're not good enough to play, if they're not being selected. It's all well and good being so there used to be like a team captain and a club captain, and club captain.
You still get that now, right?
It's like, do you mean like on the kids that all play Sunday and Saturday and Sunday morning football? They get the Club Man of the Year award, don't they, at the end of the season? Do you know what I mean? After they've given out Player of the Year, Striker of the Year, top goal scorer of the year, and all that, they give out a Clubman of the Year award to somebody that's just a good egg, a good lad, turns up every week but doesn't play, etc., etc. Yeah. And it's almost kind of what Darren's saying.
Have you ever won? You must have won the Fans Player of the Year at a certain club.
Yes, I did at Chelsea.
That's nice. You loved it, Chelsea. You loved everywhere.
Well, until I announced I wanted to leave, and then all of a sudden it changed a little bit sharpish.
And understandably so. That's how it works here, right? We love you until you say Magic FM, and then you're dead to us.
talkSPORT Drive with Andy Goldstein. Monday to Friday afternoon from 4 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.